In a quiet village, Alaric lived a simple life, dreaming of heroism as he gazed at the distant mountains. He longed for adventure beyond his everyday routine. One day, he stumbled upon a hidden cave, feeling an irresistible pull to enter. Inside, he discovered a glowing amulet that pulsed with warmth in his hand. As he touched it, a rush of energy surrounded him, transporting him to a strange world where colors danced and gravity shifted, opening the door to a journey he never imagined. In the quiet village of Eldergrove, Alaric often found himself gazing at the distant mountains that stood like ancient giants against the sky. He dreamed of heroism, of adventure that lay beyond the horizon. "One day, I will leave this place," he whispered to himself, his heart pounding with the thrill of possibility. Each day, as he worked in the fields, he imagined himself fighting alongside brave warriors, battling dark forces that threatened the land. His friends often teased him, saying, "Alaric, you're just a dreamer." But he paid no mind to their laughter. In his heart, he knew he was destined for more. One sunny afternoon, while wandering near the edge of the village, Alaric felt an unusual pull toward a cluster of trees. Curiosity sparked within him, and he followed the tugging sensation. As he pushed through the thick underbrush, he stumbled upon a hidden cave, its entrance shrouded in vines. "What is this place?" he muttered, a mixture of awe and fear creeping into his voice. It felt as if the cave was alive, calling to him with a voice only he could hear. With a deep breath, Alaric stepped inside. The air was cool and damp, and the walls glimmered with a strange light. It was then that he saw it, a glowing amulet resting on a stone pedestal, pulsating with warmth. He approached cautiously, his heart racing. Could this be real? He wondered. As he reached out to touch it, a wave of energy surged through him. The moment his fingers brushed against the amulet, the world around him shifted. In an instant, Alaric found himself in a bizarre realm where gravity seemed to twist and colors danced wildly in the air. "What is happening?" he gasped, looking around in disbelief. The sky shimmered with hues he could not name, and the ground seemed to ripple like water beneath his feet. He felt both exhilarated and terrified. "Is this a dream?" he asked aloud, hoping for an answer from the strange world around him. As he took tentative steps, he noticed peculiar creatures flitting through the air, their forms shifting and changing in ways that defied logic. One creature, small and bright, hovered near his shoulder. "You've arrived," it chimed, its voice like the tinkling of bells. "You are chosen." Alaric stared wide-eyed. "Chosen for what?" he questioned, his voice trembling. The creature danced in the air, "To seek your destiny. But beware, not all who seek adventure find it without a price." Alaric's heart sank. What price could there be for a dream come true? "I just wanted to be a hero," he murmured, more to himself than to the creature. Suddenly, the ground beneath him shifted again, and he felt his body being pulled in multiple directions. "Help!" he shouted, panic rising in his chest. Just as quickly as it started, everything settled, and he found himself standing on solid ground. "What is this place?" he repeated, now more a plea than a question. With the amulet still warm in his hand, Alaric looked around, trying to grasp the reality of his situation. "I need to find a way back," he declared, determination flooding his veins. But deep down, a part of him was intrigued by the adventure that awaited. Could he truly be the hero he always dreamed of? As he took a step forward, the creature hovered closer. "You have much to learn, young one. This world is not what it seems, and your journey has just begun." Alaric felt a mix of fear and excitement. What lay ahead? Would he find the adventure he craved, or would he be lost in this strange land forever? The questions lingered in the air, hanging like the glowing amulet in his hand, waiting for answers that only time could reveal. Alaric stood in the midst of a vibrant landscape, his heart racing with a mix of confusion and wonder. The sky above him was a kaleidoscope of colors that shifted with every breath he took. Trees with shimmering leaves swayed gently, their trunks twisting like the spirals of a shell. He blinked, trying to make sense of this new world, where the ground felt alive beneath his feet. As he walked, Alaric encountered strange creatures. One creature resembled a rabbit, but had wings like a butterfly. It flitted around him, its wings sparkling in the light. "Hello, little one," he said, reaching out a hand. The creature paused, peering at him with curious eyes before darting away into the foliage. Alaric chuckled softly, shaking his head. "I must be dreaming," he whispered to himself, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. He had always longed for adventure, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. Suddenly, the cheerful atmosphere shifted. In the distance, he heard shouting and the clash of metal. Alaric's heart sank as he rushed toward the noise. He pushed through the thick underbrush and emerged in a clearing, his breath catching in his throat. Before him, a group of rebels stood defiantly against a squad of soldiers clad in dark armor, their faces hidden beneath menacing helmets. The soldiers moved with ruthless precision, their swords gleaming as they advanced on the rebels, who were clearly outnumbered. "Get back!" one rebel shouted, raising a makeshift weapon. "We won't back down!" Alaric felt a wave of anger surge within him. He had always dreamed of being a hero, but now that he was faced with a real choice, fear gripped him. What if he intervened and failed? What if he got hurt or, worse, lost everything? He took a step back, torn between his instincts and his fears. Then, from behind the rebels, a fierce warrior stepped forward. Her name was Elowen, and Alaric was struck by her strength. She shouted to her comrades, "Stay strong! We fight for our freedom!" Her voice was filled with passion, and Alaric felt a spark of hope ignite within him. "Why are you doing this?" Alaric called out, unable to contain himself. "Why not run away?" Elowen turned, her fierce gaze meeting his. "Running only leads to more oppression. We must stand and fight for what is right." Alaric's chest tightened. He felt the pull of her words, but the fear of the soldiers loomed large. "But what if they catch you?" he asked, his voice trembling. "What if you fail?" Elowen smiled, a fierce light in her eyes. "Fear is a part of bravery, young one. It is the choice to act despite that fear that makes us strong. Will you stand with us?" For a moment, Alaric hesitated. He thought of his simple life back in the village, the safety of his routine, and the dreams that felt so far away. Yet, the sight of the rebels, fighting against the soldiers, stirred something deep inside him. He could not ignore the injustice he witnessed. I don't know if I can fight," he stammered, his heart racing. "Then be a witness to our struggle," Elowen urged, stepping closer. "Your presence matters. Every act of courage counts, no matter how small." Alaric felt the weight of her words settle on him. He watched as the soldiers advanced, their weapons glinting ominously. The rebels were brave, but they needed more than just hope. They needed allies. Gathering his courage, Alaric made his decision. "All right," he said, his voice steadier now. "I'll help you. What can I do?" "Follow my lead and be brave," Elowen replied, a fierce smile breaking across her face. "We will show them that we will not be silenced." As Alaric joined the rebels, he felt a surge of determination. This was his chance to be the hero he had always dreamed of being. Yet, deep down, a voice whispered doubts about what this choice might cost him. Would he be able to face the consequences of his decision? Only time would tell. The air was thick with tension as Alaric stood beside Elowen, the fierce warrior who had become his guide in this strange world. They were huddled together in a hidden cave, the dim light flickering from an old lantern illuminating their determined faces. Alaric felt the weight of the amulet around his neck, a constant reminder of the choice he faced. "Alaric," Elowen said, her voice steady but urgent. "The time has come for us to strike. We cannot wait any longer. The tyrant grows stronger each day. He looked into her eyes, filled with fire and resolve. But what about the amulet? I can go home. I could leave all of this behind. His voice wavered, revealing the conflict inside him. Elowen shook her head. You know it is not that simple. If you leave now, you abandon us. You abandon the chance to make a real difference. Alaric's heart raced. The thought of returning to his mundane life tugged at him. But the thought of leaving Elowen and the rebels to face the tyrant alone filled him with dread. He took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the amulet against his chest. It was a reminder of his power, but it also felt like a chain binding him to a choice he was not sure he was ready to make. I can't just stand by and let them suffer, Alaric finally said, his voice firm. I will help you. Elowen smiled, her expression one of pride mixed with relief. Then we prepare for the raid. We strike at dawn. As night fell, Alaric and Elowen gathered the rebels, each face reflecting the fear and hope that filled the air. Alaric felt a sense of belonging among them, a feeling he had longed for in his mundane life. They shared stories and laughter, bonding over the common goal of freeing their land. The next morning, the group moved silently through the forest, the sun barely peeking over the horizon. Alaric felt a mix of excitement and fear as they approached the tyrant's stronghold. He could see the tall, dark walls looming ahead, a fortress of despair that seemed impenetrable. Stay close to me, Elowen instructed, her voice barely above a whisper. Follow my lead. As they reached the outskirts of the stronghold, Alaric's heart pounded in his chest. He could see the soldiers patrolling the area, their armor glinting in the morning light. The rebels looked to Elowen for guidance, and she raised her hand, signaling for them to stop. Now, we wait for the signal, she said, her eyes scanning the surroundings. Moments felt like hours as they waited. Alaric's mind raced with thoughts of what might happen. Would he be able to use the amulet if things went wrong? Would he even want to? Then, suddenly, a loud horn sounded from a distance, a signal that echoed through the valley. Elowen sprang into action, leading the charge toward the stronghold. Now! Move! She shouted. Alaric followed, adrenaline coursing through him. As they approached the gates, chaos erupted. The rebels clashed with the soldiers, and Alaric found himself caught in the whirlwind of battle. He felt fear grip him, but it was quickly replaced by a surge of determination. Let's go, he shouted to a nearby rebel, charging forward. He used the amulet's power to enhance his strength, feeling the energy course through his body. He dodged swings of swords and fought fiercely, surprising himself with his newfound abilities. But in the heat of the conflict, he saw a soldier raise his sword at Elowen. No! Alaric yelled, rushing toward her. Just as the sword was about to strike, Alaric summoned all his strength and pushed the soldier away with a burst of energy. Are you all right? He asked, breathless as he turned to Elowen. I am now, she replied, her eyes wide with gratitude. But we must keep moving. The battle raged on, each moment filled with danger. Alaric faced his fears head-on, discovering both his strength and vulnerabilities. He fought alongside Elowen, their bond growing stronger with every clash against the tyrant's soldiers. But as the dust began to settle, the aftermath of the raid weighed heavily on Alaric. He looked around at the fallen rebels, the faces of those who had fought bravely for their freedom. A sense of sorrow filled his heart, and he felt the burden of his choices. What have we done? He whispered, staring at the consequences of their actions. Elowen placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression somber. We fought for what is right, but we must always remember the cost of heroism. It is never easy. Alaric nodded, the reality of heroism settling in his chest. He had chosen to fight, but now he had to reckon with the weight of that choice. The road ahead would not be easy, but he felt a growing determination to honor the sacrifices made that day. Together, they would continue the fight. Together, they would seek justice. As Alaric and Elowen sat together under the light of a flickering fire, their faces illuminated by the warm glow. The evening air was thick with tension, yet it felt comforting to be near someone who understood the weight of their shared mission. They had spent countless hours discussing their plans to overthrow the tyrant, and with each conversation, Alaric felt his bond with Elowen grow stronger. "Do you think we can really do this?" Alaric asked, gazing into the flames as they danced and flickered. Elowen looked at him, her eyes fierce yet soft. "We have to believe we can. If we don't, the tyrant wins without a fight. We hold the power of hope, Alaric. That is our greatest weapon." He nodded, feeling a mix of admiration and fear. "But what if we fail? What if we lose everything?" Elowen reached out and placed her hand on his. "We will not lose everything. We may lose some friends, yes, but we will gain freedom. And that is worth fighting for." Alaric felt a warmth spread through him at her words. They shared a deep pain, an understanding of what it meant to fight against oppression. But just as hope began to blossom in his heart, a shadow crept in. Doubts began to flicker at the edges of his mind. That evening, whispers of betrayal reached Alaric's ears. As he and Elowen strategized their next move, a fellow rebel named Kale approached them with a troubled expression. Alaric's heart sank at the sight of him. "Alaric? Elowen?" Kale said, his voice low. "I need to speak with you." "What's wrong?" Alaric asked, sensing the urgency in Kale's tone. "It's about the plan." Kale hesitated, glancing around as if the walls had ears. "I overheard some of the others talking. They're scared. They think we're walking into a trap." Elowen's jaw tightened. "We cannot let fear control us. The tyrant thrives on it." "But what if they're right?" Alaric interjected, feeling a cold knot forming in his stomach. "What if we are being led to our doom?" Kyle sighed, his eyes filled with uncertainty. "I don't know, but I just thought you should know. There are whispers of betrayal among us." At that moment, Alaric felt a chill run down his spine. How could they trust anyone in this treacherous world? This news rattled his faith in their mission. He glanced at Elowen, who looked equally troubled. "Trust is everything in a rebellion," Elowen said, her voice steady despite the worry in her eyes. "We must find out who is spreading these doubts and confront them. If we don't, we risk losing the very foundation of our fight." Alaric took a deep breath, steeling himself. "Then we confront them. I will not let fear tear us apart." As the days passed, Alaric found himself increasingly consumed by thoughts of the amulet. He had learned that it was not just a source of power, but a prison for a dark entity that tempted him. The weight of this knowledge pressed heavily on his mind. One night, alone in his tent, he held the amulet in his hands. Its glow was mesmerizing, pulsating with an energy that was both alluring and terrifying. "Why do you hesitate, Alaric?" A whisper echoed in his mind, smooth like silk. "I can give you the power to end this war. Imagine the strength you would have." "No," Alaric muttered, shaking his head. "I will not fall for your lies." "Lies? Look around you. Your friends doubt you. They fear you will fail. With my power, you can crush the tyrant and prove them all wrong." The voice coaxed, tempting him with visions of glory. Alaric clenched his fist around the amulet, his heart racing. He felt the pull of the dark entity, its promises of strength and victory almost overwhelming. Yet, he remembered Elowen's words about hope and the importance of trust. "I will not use you," he said firmly, determination filling him. "I will fight for the people, not for power." As he tucked the amulet away, Alaric knew that he had a choice to make. The final confrontation loomed ahead, and he must decide whether to harness the dark power or keep it imprisoned. The fate of his friends and the rebellion rested on his shoulders, and he could feel the weight of that responsibility pressing down on him like never before. The final battle against the tyrant had begun. The air was thick with tension as Alaric stood alongside Eloin and the rebels, their hearts pounding in unison. They had come too far to turn back now, and the sight of the tyrant's stronghold looming before them filled Alaric with a mix of fear and determination. The time had come to face their greatest enemy. "Are you ready?" Eloin asked, her voice steady, yet a flicker of doubt crossed her eyes. Alaric nodded, though his heart raced. "I have to be, for you and for everyone who suffers under his rule." As they charged forward, the first clash of swords echoed in the air. Alaric could feel the weight of the amulet around his neck, a constant reminder of the dark entity it contained. Its whispers grew louder in his mind, tempting him with promises of power. "You can end this easily, Alaric," it hissed. "Just unleash me, and the tyrant will fall." "No," Alaric shouted silently to himself, shaking his head. He had to focus. They had to win this battle without giving in to darkness. The rebels fought fiercely, but the tyrant's soldiers were relentless. Alaric fought beside Eloin, their movements synchronized, a testament to their growing bond. Each strike brought them closer to the tyrant, but also closer to the edge of despair. "Look out!" Eloin yelled as a soldier charged toward Alaric. He spun just in time, deflecting the blow with his sword. But the close call sent a ripple of fear through him. What if he failed? What if he lost Eloin? In that moment of chaos, the dark entity's voice whispered again, "You can save her. Just let me out. I will give you strength beyond your imagination." Alaric gritted his teeth, fighting against the urge to yield. He could not allow himself to be swayed. "I will not let you control me," he muttered under his breath, determination burning in his chest. As they pressed on, the battle intensified. Alaric felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Each fallen rebel reminded him of the stakes. "We can't let them down," he said to Eloin, his voice strained. "We won't," she replied, her eyes fierce. "Together, we can do this." Suddenly, the ground shook, and the tyrant appeared, a menacing figure atop a hill, surrounded by dark energy. "Foolish children, you think you can defeat me? You are nothing!" he bellowed, his voice echoing through the battlefield. Alaric's heart raced as he locked eyes with the tyrant. This was it, the moment he had been waiting for. "We are not nothing," Alaric shouted back. "We fight for the freedom of our people." The tyrant laughed, a cruel sound that sent shivers down Alaric's spine. "Then let's see how strong your resolve truly is." As the tyrant unleashed a wave of dark magic, Alaric felt the pull of the amulet grow stronger. It wanted to be used to consume the tyrant's power. "This is your chance," the entity urged. "Take control, and you can end him." Alaric's breath caught in his throat. He looked at Eloin, who was fighting valiantly, but he could see the exhaustion in her movements. She needed him. With a heavy heart, he faced the amulet, torn between duty and desire. "Alaric, now!" Eloin cried, dodging a blow aimed at her. In that instant, he made a choice. He reached for the amulet, feeling its warmth pulse in his hand. "I can't let you win," he whispered to the entity, a surge of defiance rising within him. "I will not lose myself." With a powerful shout, he channeled the amulet's energy, aiming it at the tyrant. A brilliant light erupted, illuminating the battlefield. The tyrant screamed as the light engulfed him, and Alaric felt the weight of his decision crash upon him. But as the light faded, Alaric realized the cost of his victory. He had defeated the tyrant, but at what price? Eloin lay on the ground, her face pale and still, and the screams of the remaining rebels filled the air. "No!" Alaric cried, rushing to her side. Tears streamed down his face as he grasped her hand. He had saved many, but he had lost so much. As he held her, the truth of heroism washed over him like a tide. It was not about glory or power. It was about the choices made in the darkest times. And now, he had to live with those choices and their consequences. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the remnants of the battlefield. Alaric stood among the ruins, his heart heavy with the weight of what had happened. The fight against the tyrant was over, but the echoes of the battle lingered in his mind. He thought of his friends, those who had fought bravely by his side, and the sacrifices they had made. As he surveyed the landscape, he felt a rush of emotions. "What does it mean to be a hero?" he whispered to himself, his voice barely rising above the gentle breeze. He remembered the moments of fear, the choices he had to make, and the pain of loss. It was not glory that filled his heart, but a deep understanding of what it meant to stand for something greater. Alawan approached him, her expression a mix of sadness and resolve. "Alaric," she called softly, "you did well out there. We all did." He turned to her, his eyes searching her face for reassurance. "But at what cost? So many brave souls. I don't know if I can carry this weight." Alawan stepped closer, her hand resting on his shoulder. "We did what we had to do. Each choice we made was for the hope of a better future, and we must honor those who fought with us by continuing to fight for what is right." The truth in her words resonated with Alaric. He remembered the laughter they shared, the plans they made, and the dreams they built together. Those bonds were the foundation of his courage. "I never thought being a hero would feel like this," he admitted, his voice shaky. "I thought it was about glory and fame, but it feels more like responsibility." "Exactly," Alawan replied, her eyes sparkling with understanding. "Being a hero is about making choices in the darkest of times. It's about love, sacrifice, and standing together." As they spoke, the other rebels gathered around them. Each face told a story of struggle and resilience. Alaric felt a swell of determination. These were not just comrades, they were family. They had shared their fears and hopes, and now they had a chance to rebuild what had been lost. "Can we really rebuild?" Alaric asked the group, his voice steadying. "This world has seen so much pain." One of the rebels, a young woman named Mira, stepped forward. "We can. We have each other, and we have a vision for a better world. Together, we can create a place where fear does not rule." "Then let's do it," Alaric said, feeling a spark of hope ignite within him. "Let's honor those we lost by building something beautiful." The rebels nodded in agreement, their spirits lifting. They started to discuss plans, sharing ideas for new beginnings. Alaric listened intently, his heart swelling with a sense of purpose. He felt a deep connection to each person around him, a shared commitment to forge ahead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Alaric realized he could not return to his old life. The mundane existence he once craved felt distant, like a memory from another world. "I will stay," he declared, surprising even himself. "I will help rebuild this place and honor the sacrifices made." Alawan smiled, her eyes brightening. "We are stronger together, Alaric. You have found your place." With renewed resolve, Alaric set to work alongside his new family. Days turned into weeks as they cleared the remnants of the battle and began to plant seeds of hope. They built homes and shared stories around fires, laughter mingling with the sounds of hard work. In quiet moments, Alaric would reflect on his journey. He had faced darkness and doubt, but he had also discovered the true meaning of heroism. It was not about the amulet or the battles won, it was about the connections forged and the love shared. One evening, as the stars twinkled overhead, Alaric stood with Alawan, looking out over the land they had begun to heal. "I accept my role," he said softly. "I will be a bearer of destiny, ready to face whatever comes next." Alawan nodded, her expression filled with pride. "And you will never be alone. We are all in this together." With a heart full of hope, Alaric took a deep breath, ready to embrace the future. Together, they would face new challenges, but he knew they would do so with courage, love, and the lessons learned from their journey. Share this story if you believe that hope can rebuild even the most broken places. Leave a comment about a time when working together made a difference in your life, and subscribe for more inspiring tales like this one.